Hello and welcome to the session on characteristics of a good test, validity and reliability. A test, as we have seen in the previous units, is the most commonly used tool to assess the performance of students in educational evaluation. While evaluating students, teachers might need to either construct tests or choose a test from the options available to them. When constructing or choosing a test, teachers should make sure that it fulfills the highest standards. Any measurement tool should meet certain standards and fulfill specific conditions. This is true for tests as well. Educational experts agree that a good test has a number of characteristics which make it effective and useful. The quality of a test can be determined by checking whether it possesses these characteristics or not. In this unit, we will take a detailed look at two most important characteristics of a good test, namely validity and reliability. By the end of this unit, you will be able to define validity and reliability, develop basic understanding of the different types of validity such as face validity, content validity, construct validity and criterion related validity, differentiate between different types of validity, examine different methods used for determining reliability such as the test retest method, parallel forms method, split half method and KR20 method. Comprehend the merits and limitations of each of these methods. Learn the process through which different methods determine the reliability of a test. What is validity? As already mentioned, validity is one of the most important characteristics of a good test. The term validity can be defined as the extent to which a test measures what it is supposed to measure. In other words, we can determine that a test is valid if it measures what it intends to measure. It should be noted here that validity is a relative concept. That is to say, a test may be valid for a use and not valid for another use. Let us consider an example to understand this. Imagine that an English teacher administers a test to measure the writing skills of a student. This test should measure the writing skills of the students and nothing else. If the test is designed in such a way that it measures the comprehension skills of students instead of their writing skills, it is not valid for the purpose it was originally intended. Likewise, a test intended to measure the grammatic ability of students is invalid if it measures their listening skills instead. Types of validity. A test should be weighted from different dimensions in order to make sure that it is valid. Each of these dimensions constitutes a different kind of validity and contributes to the total validity of the test. Some of the most important kinds of validity are face validity, content validity, construct validity and criterion related validity. Of these, criterion related validity can be further divided into concurrent validity and predictive validity. Let us take a quick look at each of these validity types. Face validity. Face validity can be defined as the extent to which the physical appearance of the test corresponds to what it intends to measure. That is to say, if a test includes items that appear appropriate on the face of it, the test is said to have face validity. For example, if a test that is intended to measure the grammatical abilities of students include grammatical questions and not vocabulary questions, then the test has face validity. It should be noted here that a grammar test may assess the vocabulary skills of students as well. In such cases, we can say that the test does not have high face validity. Many educational experts are of the opinion that face validity is not a very crucial or determinant type of validity. According to some of them, face validity is not validity in the technical sense of the term because it refers not to what a test actually measures, but to what it appears to measure. That is to say, face validity means that a test appears valid to the test takers, administrators and other technically untrained observers. Content validity. Content validity determines whether the items included in a test are representative of the domain of content or subject matter it intends to measure. In other words, content validity can be defined as the correspondence between the content of the test and the content of the materials to be tested. We should remember here that it is practically impossible to include all the elements of the content domain in a test. However, the important point is that the test items should be a reasonable sample and representative of the domain of content they are supposed to measure. A test constructed in this way will help the teacher measure the ability of the students in the content area. This will in turn enable the teacher determine the extent to which the instructional objectives laid out for the content domain are achieved. Therefore, content validity is of supreme importance in the construction of a test. Construct validity. Construct validity can be defined as the extent to which a test measures the theoretical construct underlying that test. This type of validity becomes important when a test measures abstract traits or theoretical characteristics such as intelligence, readiness for work, etc. Let us examine construct validity in some detail. As we have already seen, a test can be used to measure certain traits and characteristics of students. However, not all traits are directly observed. When a trait cannot be observed and measured directly, the teacher has to operationally define that trait. This is typically done by associating that trait with certain observable behaviors through which it is projected. That is to say, something is constructed by the teacher to represent a trait which is not directly observable, and hence it is called a construct. In such situations, the major criterion for determining the validity is the extent to which the test scores corresponds to the construct. Criterion related validity. Criterion related validity can be defined as the correspondence between the results of a test and the results obtained from an appropriate outside criterion. A measurement device, the validity of which is already established, is typically used as the outside criterion. While content validity and phase validity are determined subjectively, criterion related validity is determined quite objectively. Hence, it is also known as empirical validity. To determine the criterion related validity of a test, it should be correlated with an already established test or criterion. Let us consider an example to understand this. Imagine that a group of English teachers constructed a test for measuring language proficiency. In order to check the criterion related validity of this new test, they need a criterion. It is important to note that the criterion must also be a language proficiency test. In this case, the teachers may choose TOEFL as the outside criterion. Once the criterion is selected, the two tests should be administered to a group of students. Then the scores of these two tests should be correlated. The degree to which they correlate is the validity index of the new test against the outside criterion. In other words, to the extent that the two tests correlate, they provide the same information regarding the language proficiency of students. Criterion related validity is further divided into two types. They are concurrent validity and predictive validity. In concurrent validity, both the newly developed tests and the criterion tests are administered concurrently, that is at the same time. Then their results are correlated. In predictive validity, the newly developed test might be administered at one time and the criterion test is administered at a later date. Reliability. An equally important characteristic of a good test is its reliability. The term reliability refers to the consistency and accuracy of measurement. It can be defined as the extent to which a test produces the same results on repeated trials. Let us take an example to understand the concept of reliability. Imagine that a student took an English grammar test. The test contained 100 questions and the student scored 95% in the test. The same student took the same test 5 days later and scored 50%. Again, after 2 weeks, the same student took the same test for a third time and scored 80%. Here, we can see that the scores obtained by the student on repeated attempts of the same test are drastically different. So, what is the best explanation we can give for this massive difference in scores? Obviously, the knowledge of the student in English grammar could not have undergone such a drastic change in this short period. Let us also assume that there was no other factor affecting the results. Thus, the only explanation we have is that the test has some error. While evaluating the performance and mastery of this student in the subject matter, we cannot rely on this test because it failed to produce consistent scores. In other words, this test is not reliable. A reliable test is characterized by its ability to produce consistent scores at different administrations to the same or similar group of students. However, there is another side to this. If a test produces exactly the same results at repeated trials to the same group of students, we can say that such a test is perfectly reliable. It should be noted here that perfect reliability might not exist in reality because the reliability of tests is affected by several other factors. The mental conditions of students, the physical conditions of students, administration procedure, scoring procedure, precision of the test items, etc. are some of the major factors affecting the reliability of test scores. This is the reason why we define reliability as the extent to which the same test produces consistent scores for the same student or group of students. The higher the extent, the higher the reliability of the test is. Reliability can be represented using the letter R. The magnitude of R varies between 0 and 1. Here, 0 demonstrates the minimum extent of reliability, while 1 demonstrates the maximum extent of reliability. We should remember that reliability is independent of the content or form of the test. It is a statistical concept and deals only with the scores produced in a test, but validity is directly related to the content and form of the test. Relationship between reliability and validity. Many a time people wrongly assume that reliability and validity are not related to each other. There indeed is a relationship between them, but this relationship is not a straightforward one. For the reliability and validity of a test, we have three different possibilities. Firstly, a test can be neither valid nor reliable. That is, a test which is not reliable cannot be valid either. If the same test produces different results on different administrations to the same group, it clearly is not measuring what it intends to measure. Secondly, a test can be reliable but not valid. This means that a test may produce consistent scores and therefore is reliable, but the consistency in scores does not guarantee that the test is measuring what it is supposed to measure. Thirdly, a test can be both valid and reliable. That is, if a test is valid, then it has to be reliable as well. When a test measures what it is supposed to measure, the chances of inconsistencies in scores are very low. Methods for determining reliability. There are four major methods commonly used to determine the reliability of a test. These four methods are test retest method, parallel forms method, split half method and Cooder-Richardson formula 20 or KR20 method. In order to understand these methods fully, let us first take a look at the three crucial aspects of reliability. They are equivalence, stability and internal consistency. Equivalence refers to the extent to which two or more instruments that are administered at the same point in time agree to each other. Of the above mentioned methods, the parallel forms method is used to measure equivalence. The term stability refers to the extent to which the scores obtained from repeated testing with the same group of respondents remain similar. The test retest method is used to measure stability. The third important aspect of reliability is internal consistency. It refers to the extent to which items on the test are measuring the same thing. It is also called homogeneity. The internal stability of a test can be measured via split half method and Cooder-Richardson formula 20 also known as KR20 method. Apart from these 4 methods, there is another method widely used these days to determine the reliability of tests. It is called Cronbach's alpha or coefficient alpha. This method, like KR20 and split half method, is used as a measure of internal consistency. It is often seen as an extension of KR20 method. Now, let us see how each of these methods is used to determine reliability. Test retest method. In the test retest method, a test is administered to the same student or group of students twice. As the name of this method suggests, the first administration of the test is referred to as the test and the second administration is called retest. It is important to note that the test and the retest are administered with a short interval in between, which is typically more than 2 weeks. The scores of the two tests are collected and the correlation between them is determined. The degree of correlation between the test and the retest determines the extent of reliability. The method of determining the reliability of a test through testing and retesting may appear easy. However, it has a number of limitations. This method requires that teachers administer the same test on the same group of students at 2 different times. This might not be practically possible due to the unavailability of the same group of test takers. Another major disadvantage of this method is the interval between the administrations of the two tests. If the interval is too short, the reliability of test scores is likely to suffer from the practice effect and memorization effect carried over from the first test. If the interval is too long, the scores are likely to suffer from the learning effect. That is to say, in the period between the test and the retest, students might acquire better mastery in the subject area. Consequently, the state of knowledge will not remain the same for the second administration. Parallel forms method. The parallel forms method was developed in attempt to rectify some of the disadvantages of the test retest method. In this method, reliability is determined by administering 2 parallel forms of a single test to the same group of students. Test items of both the tests are prepared based on the same content. The scores of the 2 tests are calculated and the correlation between the scores is obtained. The greatest advantage of this method is that the tests need not be administered twice. Thus, the problems relating to learning effect can be eliminated. However, the parallel forms method has a major disadvantage, that is, teachers have to generate lots of test items that reflect the same construct. This indeed is a complex task because the parallel forms of the test should fulfill a number of logical and statistical criteria. Moreover, this method is based on the assumption that the randomly divided items are parallel or equivalent, which might not be the case in reality. Split half method. As we have seen, test retest method determines reliability by administering the same test twice to the same group of students. In parallel forms method, 2 forms of a single test is administered to the same group. Split half method is developed to overcome the shortcomings of these 2 methods. In this method, a single form of a test is given to a group of students. Then each student's test is split into 2 halves. The reliability of test scores is determined by calculating the scores and obtaining the correlation between the scores in the first half and the second half. Typically, the test is divided into 2 halves by using odd and even items to form each half. That is, test items numbered 1, 3, 5, 7 will constitute one half and items numbered 2, 4, 6, 8 will constitute the other half. The split half method is based on the assumption that the 2 sets of test scores are comparable. If there is high correlation between the 2 scores, then the reliability is also high. Cooder-Richardson formula or KR20 method. The test retest method, parallel forms method and split half method determine reliability using a statistical procedure called correlation. In order to carry out these methods, teachers and test developers should have good knowledge in many statistical concepts and procedures. Those who are not familiar with statistics may find these methods difficult to execute. In an attempt to overcome this problem, two statisticians named Cooder and Richardson developed a series of formulae using which reliability can be estimated through simple mathematical operations. This method is called Cooder-Richardson formula 20 or KR20. Here K and R stand for the first initials of Cooder and Richardson and 20 refers to the number of the formula in the series. This method can be used to determine the reliability of a single test given to a group of students through a single administration. The scores are calculated and the reliability is determined using two simple statistical parameters, namely the mean and variance. As already mentioned in the beginning of this unit, validity and reliability are two fundamental characteristics of a good test. However, a good test has a number of other characteristics including objectivity, comprehensiveness, economy, practicability, discrimination, etc. We will deal with these characteristics in detail in the next unit. Let me summarize the session. This unit deals with two most important characteristics of a good test, namely validity and reliability. A test is said to be valid if it measures what it intends to measure. A test which is valid for a use might not be valid for another, and therefore, validity is a relative concept. Based on the different dimensions from which a test is weighed, validity can be divided into four major types. They are face validity, content validity, construct validity and criterion related validity. If the physical appearance of a test corresponds to what it intends to measure, that test is said to have face validity. If the items included in a test are representative of the domain of content it intends to measure, that test has content validity. If a test measures the theoretical construct underlying the test, it has construct validity. If the results of a test correspond to the results obtained from an outside criterion, that test is said to have criterion related validity. Criterion related validity can be divided into concurrent validity and predictive validity. The second important characteristics of a good test is reliability, or the extent to which a test produces the same results on repeated trials. Test retest method, parallel forms method, split half method and KR20 method are the four major methods used to determine the reliability of a test. Of these, test retest method, parallel forms method and split half method determine the reliability of a test using the statistical procedure of correlation. KR20 method uses simple mathematical operations such as mean and variance to determine the reliability of a test. Now, you can try to answer the questions given here. What is validity? Can you give a few examples to explain the concept? How can a test lack content validity? Explain lack of content validity using a few examples. Define criterion related validity, concurrent validity and predictive validity. What is the relation between reliability and validity? What is the test retest method? What are the disadvantages of it? How is the parallel forms method used to determine reliability? What are the main limitations of this method? How is split half method different from test retest and parallel forms methods? Hope that you may go through the reference books for further reading. The Cambridge Guide to Second Language Assessment, written by Kumbe C, Davidson P, O'Sullivan B and Steinhoff S as editors and published by Cambridge University Press, New York in the year 2012. School Evaluation, written by Khan M S and published by APH Publishing, New Delhi in 2008. New Approaches to Measurement and Evaluation, written by Sidhu K S, published by Sterling Publishers, New Delhi in 2005. Developmental Behavioral Pediatrics, Evidence and Practice, written by Wohlreich M L, Drotter D D, Dorkin P H and Perrin E C as editors and published by Mosby Elsewhere, Philadelphia in the year 2008. Thank you for watching this program. We can meet again with another topic. Have a nice day.